It's your boy coming at you with a very special episode. This is going to be part of the Ozone Park Chronicles besides my interviews every week. This is one of the very first episodes. I just decided to jump on and do it today because my boy's home. I didn't speak about him before because I didn't want to cause any conflict for him and the trouble that he was already in. He had a wise guy go to a family and ask them to call the FBI, not a violation, not the cops. This guy had a wise guy go to the FBI on him and put him in jail, my boy Gene Barillo. Now, I can only hear about what's going on with him between third party because I can't have contact with him. And like I said, I have respect for the family and his legal issues. I didn't want to speak on this before, but I kind of had all this information and now I'm letting it out. This guy has been a tyrant. I know him since he's a kid. He knows me. I love the guy. He's a great guy. I know people want to call him this, want to call him that. Well, you know what? They took him off the street. They threw him in the box. He comes out of the box. They put him in general population. They didn't treat him like this cooperator and this rat that everybody wants to call him. And you know what? I was sitting home for 4 years, and he told me, "What are you doing? We got to get this podcasting together." There was guys out there with content. It was terrible. And he said, no, guys that know about the streets, guys that been there, guys that did it, we're going to put this together and we're going to do it right. We're supposed to all be together. And this is what he said from day one. I didn't want to be a part of it for years. So the last year, it's a year now in June that I've been doing this, and I decided to do it. My fault on my end, because I let people in that say words like verified and fact check and had no clue about Cosa Nostra. You know what? Half these guys with buttons got no clue about Cosa Nostra. But we didn't care. The guys that were in the life, we wanted to bring everybody together. That was Gene's idea. He was the first person to come out with all this content, make it big. Nobody else was making it big in mob podcasting until he came on and started doing the John and Gene show. And he blew it up. And I got to give him his credit because that's what made me come out of my shell and do it. I didn't want to speak about this stuff, but he convinced me because I know him and he knew me from the streets. And yeah, you know what? He was a tyrant. You know, you can say what you want. Oh, I don't know the guy. I don't know much about him. Yeah, he was in every newspaper. The FBI called him a gangster. The Post called him a gangster. The Daily News called him a gangster. The New York Times called him a gangster. They treated him like a gangster. They put him in general population. They stuck him back in the hole. And everybody's out here talking about rat this, cooperated that. No, not no more because they don't consider him that in the feds. And he was among them all in population in MDC just recently, you know. I mean, I'm not going to be able to see him for a while. I can only hear about him through third party and family. But he wanted this whole thing that we're doing, all this fighting, this, you know, in-house fighting with real mob guys. Now, don't get me wrong. People keep saying gangster this, gangster that. I never consider myself a gangster. I consider myself a street guy. He was a gangster. He was out there shooting, robbing, tying people up, shaking people down. He had wise guys. Besides the wise guy that just violated him and put him in jail and made people come forward and get him violated, that was a wise guy that did that to him. Okay? His boy that he protected in the streets, wise guy, got his button because of him, protecting him. Turns around and gets him violated, calls the FBI and gets him violated. This is what wise guys, we call them glorified associates. Anybody that gets straightened out after 2010. Anybody. So this thing that we're doing, that none of us are coming together, everybody acting like they don't know one another. Well, you can't act like you don't know this guy, all right? Because he terrorized the neighborhood. He had a captain in the Lucchese family hemmed up in a hallway. He had a captain in the Genovese family hemmed up in a hallway. He had the boss of the Genovese family spitting his name out your mouth. Whoa, that's one thing you never want, is your name coming out of a boss's mouth of another family. Okay, this guy was running the streets like a stone cold gangster. I don't care what anybody says, okay? You can come back, you can write the rat memes or this memes. The guy was a straight up gangster. You'll never hear me call myself one because I was a street guy. And I know him since he's a kid. And I know he's stand up. Regardless what happened, That's not my business. I wasn't a part of that crew. I wasn't a part of what went on. Whatever that happened with them, only they know that. But all I know is that he didn't want what's happening right now. When he came out, he made mob podcasting cool. He made mod podcasting, the new generation that we were, the modern day, brought this out. The old timers didn't. These guys couldn't do anything. I turned around and put a guy on that had a podcast since 2011. He had 3 followers. I wasn't supposed to do that. I turned around and put another guy on who couldn't stop getting high. You know what I mean? That was all wrong. And these guys want to sit around and call themselves mob historians now. Fact checked. It was all done wrong. He had the right idea. He wanted to bring all the real guys together. We all should have shared the platform. We all should have been there together, doing our own shows, our own content, but the right way. You know that? And right now, we're in the works for when he's done with his parole, and we got 3 other young guys like me, him, and 3 other guys, and we're going to do a young panel modern day Cosa Nostra sit down with Vlad. And when he's done and he's off paper, and you know he's got a list this thick.